Welcome everyone to the LAT Info Evening. I'm Ellen Brown, the faculty partner for UNSW Law and Justice, and I'm going to be your host for this evening. I'm here today at our main Kensington campus and would like to first take the time to acknowledge Bedegal people who are the traditional custodians of this land that I'm sitting on. I'd also like to pay my respects to the elders, both past and present, and extend that respect to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders who may also be present with us here today. I'm so happy that you've joined us from all over Australia and some of you even from across the world. I'm excited for you to gain some insight into what studying at UNSW Law and Justice could look like for you. We hope that you take a lot away from this session today and look forward to answering your questions throughout the evening about our faculty. Thank you for joining us, and I'll now hand you over to our Professor, Natalie Klein, our Associate Dean.
Thanks, Ellen, and good evening to everyone joining us tonight. My name is Natalie Klein, and I'm a Professor and the Associate Dean Academic here in the Faculty of Law and Justice. Our faculty is a leader in legal education, and it's built on a commitment to excellence, intellectual ambition, and the pursuit of social justice. We believe that our work should serve the needs of the local and global community, including those on which the law bears most harshly. Those precise words have been the mission of UNSW Law and Justice since its inception more than 50 years ago. Tonight, I'll be talking a little bit about our faculty as well as what it's like to study with us. But first, you might have the question as to why even study law. Law affects each of us all day, every day, whether it's when you drive into a car park, you make a purchase, or when you're spending time online. Law plays a key role in society. It affects us in our decisions and in our interactions with other people in ways that you might not even be aware of. The law gives us rights as well as responsibilities. The law protects our rights and guides citizens' behaviour. Given all that, it's challenging, it's an interesting field, it's complex, and I think it can provide a career that's both exciting and rewarding. Studying law opens up a whole range of opportunities, and working as a lawyer can mean many different things. You might already be familiar with the idea of working as a lawyer with clever courtroom tactics or being involved in multi-million-dollar business deals. But there is much more to it than that. It can also involve everything from drafting a will or helping families with end-of-life decisions. It's conveying property, whether a corner store or an entire apartment complex. You might be helping an individual who's lost their job, figuring out environmental requirements for property developments, advising someone involved in a terrible car accident or arrested for having drugs on them. You might end up advising on how to interpret the Constitution, whether the takeover of a major company can proceed, or whether a media company can publish particular information. In my field of international law, you might be negotiating a treaty or advising a government on an international boundary dispute. The examples really are quite infinite, and we just need lawyers for many different aspects of our life. While studying at UNSW as a Bachelor of Law student, you'll be exposed to these diverse career opportunities from a team of academics who collectively have a rich and vast background in law. Our law academics bring with them a wealth of knowledge and experience in understanding not only how the law operates, but why it operates the way it does. Studying law will also teach you a range of soft skills, including how to think analytically, critically, be precise and careful, and these are skills you can use really in any job potentially. You'll learn how to problem solve, see things from different perspectives, argue persuasively, and present the best case possible. We do train you to start thinking like a lawyer, which is about problem solving and thinking critically. But at UNSW Law and Justice, thinking like a lawyer also involves an understanding of society. We place such a strong emphasis on our vision of justice for all and constantly ensure our teachings and actions are aligned with this. We are committed to social justice and to making a difference in this world, and tonight is really our invitation to you to join us in this mission. Some more about the law program itself. At UNSW Law and Justice, all our undergraduate law degrees are offered as double degrees. Doing a double degree allows you to achieve more in less time and broaden your skills and opportunities. We currently offer 20 double degree law combinations, so you're sure to find one that is right for you based on your passion and interests. Within our faculty, we have students undertaking computer science, French, commerce, international studies, criminology, psychology, and social work, and that diversity has always enriched our classroom. And you may be wondering, what makes law at UNSW special? A key difference for us is our interactive small seminar style teaching. Our faculty are a pioneer for student-focused interactive teaching in small classes in Australian legal education. This continues to be a strong focus for us. Unlike the traditional large lecture and tutorial model at UNSW, we have only about 35 to 45 students in each class. Our students do their readings before they come to class, and then during class time, students discuss the issues and the themes of the topics with their lecturers and with their peers. So it's all very highly interactive. It's a dialogue-based way of learning, and it's an interesting way for students to learn and connect. Something else that's very distinctive to UNSW is our commitment to experiential learning. All of our students spend some time at our very own Community Legal Centre, the Kingsford Legal Centre, which is located here at the UNSW Law Building. You'll get to work on real cases with clients while being supervised and learning from our in-house and volunteer solicitors. Experiential learning offers students the unique opportunity to simultaneously study the theory of law in the classroom and also experience it in action, and this provides you with an advantage over other graduates. It also plays a critical role in the process of transforming our law students into ethical, analytical, and engaged legal professionals. We also offer a wide variety of clinics and other internships which you can do for your course credit, so you'll finish your degree as a highly sought-after graduate. Students can also get involved in mooting and other skills competitions like negotiation, mediation, client interview. The Law Student Society has a lot on offer. Our students compete in different competitions domestically and internationally. So there's a lot to learn outside the classroom as well as inside. At UNSW, you're a student at a top 15 global law school. That means that you're learning from some of the country's leading scholars and professional legal practitioners, many of whom have shaped the law that you're learning about. At UNSW Law and Justice, our research is consistently in the highest possible ranking under the Australian Government's Excellence in Research ratings. That research informs everything that you learn. If you're keen to add some international experience and legal knowledge to your study program, UNSW Law and Justice also offers 2 to 3 week overseas electives. These courses are offered at a range of overseas locations during the main summer and winter term breaks. We also run short courses overseas in locations including New York and Berkeley University in the United States, Santiago in Chile, Zurich in Switzerland, also in China, India, Vanuatu. And then if you're looking for something a little longer, we also have exchange agreements with over 80 international partners spread across North and South America, Europe, and Asia. UNSW students don't pay any additional tuition fees to the overseas host institution, and your law courses overseas will be credited to your UNSW law degree. You'll soon hear from Ellen Brown, who is our wonderful faculty partner for the UNSW Bachelor of Laws. She'll tell you a little bit more about the LLB and the Law Admissions Test, or the LAT. At the end of the presentation, you will join a live panel discussion with our Director of Experiential Learning for Law and Justice, as well as some of our current students, to provide you with some information about what it's like to study at UNSW as a law student. Please don't forget to submit your questions on the Q&A box function on your screen. Thanks again for joining us, and I'll now hand it over to Ellen Brown, the Faculty Partner for Law and Justice.
Thanks for that, Natalie. Now that you have heard all about our wonderful faculty, I'm going to walk you through the next steps of what applying for our Bachelor of Laws program entails. The Bachelor of Law, also known as the LLB, runs from between 5 and 6.7 years, depending on the double degree combination that you decide to pair with. The lowest selection rank for 2023 was 94.25 plus the LAT. For those of you who are unfamiliar with a selection rank, it's basically your ATAR plus any additional factors that you may be awarded. Adjustment factors available to students studying the LLB include things like the Educational Access Scheme, which is available for students who have experienced any sort of long-term educational disadvantage, and the Academic Achievement Award, which is awarded to academically gifted students who receive the highest raw ATARs. Whilst the lowest 2023 ATAR was 85.2, it's really that selection rank that I want you to zone in on, because that is what most of our students are ultimately going to be assessed on. Finally, in terms of averages, because these come together, the median LAT score that was achieved in 2023 was 74. Now, I'm sure that if you've tuned in tonight, the chances are that you've probably already heard a little bit about what our law admission test is, or the LAT. Some of you may have already sat the LAT while you were in Year 11 last year, and others may be planning to sit it for the first time this year in September. So who needs to sit the LAT? Well, the LAT is required for all domestic students who would like to be considered for admissions into our Bachelor of Laws here at UNSW. That includes students that are already studying law at another university and wish to transfer across to us. You may be thinking, well, what exactly is the LAT? The LAT really simply is just an extra test. It's an extra test because we know letting students into law is more than just your aptitude alone. It's basically a suitability scoring assessment to see how well you're going to do in law. At UNSW, we just acknowledge that there's so much more that goes into producing great lawyers, more than just purely good grades alone. And as Natalie touched on before, you'll need to be someone who thinks like a lawyer, meaning that if you need to prove your analytical abilities, your ability to critically think and create arguments clearly and confidently. You also need to have strong communication skills, and these are the types of skills that we're trying to assess through the LAT test. It is these points that we consider that are going to make you a really strong student for law in the future, and that is more than just the ATAR. The LAT has been developed in conjunction with Education Council for Educational Research, also known as ACERT, in order to identify for exactly these sorts of skills. The more information regarding the test, you can visit not only UNSW's website, but also directly on ACER's website. So let's break it down further. What is the LAT exactly? The LAT, in its most basic essence, is a written aptitude test and suitability for studying law. It's been developed in conjunction with ACER and UNSW, and it comprises of just 2 questions that we ask you to complete across a 2-hour window. You can't prepare for it. And finally, the one thing I'd really want you to take away from this is the LAT is there to boost your score. It's not something we want students to have fear around, because the idea is that we're rewarding students that naturally have the skills to do well as a lawyer. We really want to be targeting students who are not only academically competitive, but those that have the skills, the soft skills and passion to do really well in law and justice. Your LAT skills, your LAT result, I should say, are valid for up to 2 years. And because it's valid for 2 years, it means you have the opportunity to sit twice. Some students sit it in both Year 11 and Year 12. We'll only look at your best result. However, it's important to note that you are not required to sit it twice, so it's only for those really eager beavers. If you're considering taking a gap year after Year 12, just might want to think about the fact that it's only valid for 2 years. So it's not going to be valid by the time you're actually going to apply at UNSW if you're doing it all the way back in Year 11. To apply for a UNSW Bachelor of Laws, you must do 2 things. You've got to submit your UAC application and remember to include your LAT registration in that. Your LAT is going to be held once a year, and if we're looking to study in the 2024 year, so if you haven't sat the LAT last year, you're going to need to sit it by the 30th of September in 2024. Some of the other key LAT dates that you will need to be across include the following. Registrations, they're going to be open from Monday the 13th of May. So we've already passed that date now. Hope you're registering. With a closing date for standard registrations falling on Friday the 9th of August 2024. We'll keep registrations open for late registrants closing on Friday the 6th of September at the very latest. Applying in this late category is also going to incur an additional $50 fee. After you sit the LAT on Monday the 30th of September, the next question is, when are those results going to come out? Well, your results are going to take a little while, probably around sometime mid-November in 2024 when you apply for your UAC. So is anyone exempt from sitting the LAT? I hear that a lot. Those who are exempt would really just fall into a pretty small category. It's going to be international students, those who are applying via an internal program transfer, so they're already within the bounds of UNSW, Gateway students, or the last category would be our Indigenous pre-law students. For a variety of reasons, you may need to consider alternate pathways into law. You may have chosen your career goals early and something's changed, or maybe you didn't get the ATAR or the LAT that you were quite hoping for. Whatever the reason, there's still pathways and options for you to be considering if you really want a future in law. Our internal program transfer, also known as an IPT, is a really popular way to get into a law program if you didn't go in through a traditional route. For students who are studying already at UNSW, a non-law degree. Every year we reserve up to 100 places for students to do exactly that, transfer into the LLB program. So students that are doing that, the ATAR is not considered, and either is the LAT. It's purely your academic results that you've got while you've been here at UNSW. An IPT doesn't necessarily mean that your degree will take longer. So if you've come into it midstream, as often you're studying predominantly the other part of your LLB program in those early years of your law degree anyway. So extension of your law pathway to graduate is not necessarily true. UNSW Gateway is an admission pathway for students in Year 11 and 12 attending Gateway schools, all recognised as EAS eligible under socioeconomic indexes for areas of consideration. Students who apply for double law through UNSW Gateway, those students do not need to sit the LAT. You can find out more about this and the rules at the UNSW Gateway website. For UNSW Indigenous pre-law program students is an intensive residential preparatory program designed to assist First Nations students to develop the skills necessary to successfully complete their studies in law. The program includes a simulation of the law school experience, an introduction to university life, assessment, and legal thought. Program content includes an introduction to legal process, Aboriginal legal issues, criminal law, legal writing, and academic skills. You can find all about this on our Nuragili website. In summary, there are 3 main steps to apply for a UNSW Bachelor of Law. First, I want you to register for the LAT, and I want you to do it now while they're open. Then the second thing you need to do is sit that LAT test in September and do your very best, remembering you really can't prep for it. And the last thing I need you to do is to submit your UAP application and be sure to include your LAT registration number. If you haven't submitted your questions to us yet, please do so using the Q&A function on your screen, and we'll shortly be joined by our panel members who are going to share their experience of UNSW Law and Justice and their experience with the LAT. They're going to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Ellen. That was a lot of great information, and I'm sure you got a lot from that, and it was a lot of information to take in. So what we'll do now is we will go over to our Q&A panel, and we will hear from some of our brilliant UNSW law students, as well as one of our law academics, about their experiences at UNSW. And I will let them introduce themselves to you now.
Hi everyone, I'm Salgun and I'm a final year Law and Commerce student.
Hey everyone, I am Bhavik and I'm a 4th year Law and Commerce student.
And hi, I'm Siobhan Ryan. I'm a lecturer and director of Work Integrated Learning, which is internships within the Law and Justice faculty.
Great. So it's so great to have you all here with us tonight. So thank you for joining us. I might start with Bhavik and just ask you a little bit about what made you decide you wanted to study law, and was it always what you wanted to study?
Yes, so I think one of the key things I'd say that prompted me towards this direction was always my activism-minded nature in high school. So back since year 10, I sort of knew that I wanted to go into law. Definitely watched a lot of TV shows that sort of pushed me to that direction, but in saying that, the main reason I'd say was in year 12 when there was a lot of social activism going on during school. So that was a period back in 2020 when obviously COVID just started. And there was a lot of international movements going on, such as the Black Lives Matter movement that was going on at that time. And to some extent, even though there was a lot of things on social media that was, we saw things every single day on social media about things happening across the world. And I just felt that I, at some points, was powerless to be able to do anything. And to a great extent, I thought that law would be the degree that would really help me make change in the future, whether that be through changing policy, whether that be through better law enforcement and different things along those same lines. But that was sort of the thing that really pushed me into this direction.
Yeah, fantastic. What pushed you towards UNSW Law and Justice?
So crazily enough, I didn't actually want to go to UNSW at the start. First of all, it was quite far from my home. And also I had other preferences in mind, which were a bit closer. But at the end of the day, one thing that I knew for a fact was UNSW always stood out to me as the university which had the strongest social culture out of all universities. And 4 years down the track, I can say that that's something that I've gone to experience from the broadest perspective possible. Being the co-president of the UNSW Law Society now, but also having done so many other volunteering programs across the university, just really shows you what university culture is supposed to be like, especially in this post-COVID world where we don't really know what that should feel like. Many people are desensitized to the real world and sort of how to make those in-person communication and friendships. But I've been really fortunate enough to find that at UNSW. So yeah, definitely really lucky.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I think we're lucky to have you on the panel tonight, being the president of the Law Society, and I would love to hear a little bit more about that throughout the session. Just to touch on what you said earlier, just about having that, I suppose, social justice desire, or that moral compass driving you towards your career. I think UNSW does that particularly well in the law department. We are really guided by our saying of justice for all and progress for all. And I think Siobhan can really attest to that, all of the research that we have at the forefront of. Are you able to speak to that a little?
Yes, absolutely. And UNSW is the Social Justice University. And within UNSW, we have a number of centres, we call that. So we have the Australian Human Rights Centre, it's on campus. We have Youth Law Australia. We have the Pro Bono Australian Centre downstairs. We have the Diplomacy Training Programme. And that's just to name a few. So we actually, and we've actually just started one, I just remembered now, on climate rules and regulations. So we're very much, I think, topical, but we are geared towards that social justice, human rights bent. But we also encourage students to take up any interest. So, just to talk about, let's say, work experience or internships, we also encourage them to self-reflect, identify what interests you, and then go and find out, and we will facilitate that. But I'll talk more on that later.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I think that that's a great point, because our students are learning, from our academics who are practicing what they preach. It's not just you're being taught to. You can watch that firsthand from our academics who are right in the thick of it and really involved in all of those social justice issues. I'll come over to you now, Sargun. How are you enjoying your degree?
I'm at the final stages of my degree and I've genuinely loved the past 5 years. And not just like the education standpoint, like the social culture, like Barbik said, and just the opportunities that have been available to me. I think now that I'm headed towards joining the workforce, I feel really prepared and ready. And it's not as daunting as I feel like it could have been if I were at a different university.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, that brings me through to our next question that's coming through tonight, which is just a little bit about how the law degree prepares you for a future career at, the law degree at UNSW. I know that Siobhan can talk a lot about this. What can you say about that?
Well, yes, absolutely. Like at UNSW, we're very focused on employability. And I know the students here beside me, I've actually taught both of them, one in criminal law, one within internships program. But we very much focus on you need to be a rounded person. You need a range of skills. So even if you just take, for example, that what's happening with AI, that is actually changing the landscape in law and legal careers. So students need to have more soft skills, teamwork. They're not going to spend years on discovery anymore. They actually will be in front of clients earlier. So we try and build our students up to get those employability skills. Within Law and Justice, we are the only law school within Australia which has embedded career services in the faculty. So obviously at the university, we have the broader career services, UNSW Employability, but because law is such a versatile foundational degree, which opens career pathways, in a range of directions, we actually have a lawyer on staff and her job is to provide career counselling to students. And we have a careers manager, and that is to put opportunities in front of students, which includes things like we have an exclusive jobs board, because some alumni, quite a lot of alumni, they come back and they say, I don't want to go to market. I just want, give me some UNSW students. So we advertise internally, but we also have panel discussions. We have skills development sessions, career information days. So we try and get the students to consider a range of pathways and to self-reflect so that they're ready and to gain work experience, which leads me to my passion area, which is internships. Because we encourage the students, if you have an interest in any area, be it intellectual property, great. We'll try and work with you to get an opportunity. We will give you academic credit to go out and work 1 day a week. And it's a fantastic outcome if you go out and love it and if you go out and hate it, because now you know. So then when you go out as a graduate, you will have knowledge of what works to your strengths and your interests to support you in a sustainable career.
Yeah, which I think is fantastic, because we're not just, assisting you in getting a law degree. We are, from the outset, assisting you in basically getting into your profession, landing a job that, you enjoy and that you could be successful in. I think Sargun can speak to this, because you've actually done a WIL program and an internship. How did that work for you, and how did it keep you on track for what you wanted to do, or did you sort of reshuffle?
Well, that's a fantastic question, actually, because undertaking WIL has completely changed the trajectory of my career.
Okay.
Like originally throughout my degree, I chose to intentionally expose myself to all the various different aspects that you can go down with a law degree, whether that be working at chambers or in private practice. And I didn't even know policy or government work was an option until I went through Will. And by going through that, and I loved my internship so much, I extended it over the summer. And now I've decided that policy is something I might want to go down instead of traditional private practice or working in a commercial law firm.
Yeah, great. I think that's fantastic because I think a lot of students go into law thinking, you know, as a lawyer, I'm going to go down a traditional path, be in a courtroom, you know, and I think, yeah, you can attest there's so many things you can do in law. So that's really great. I'll circle back to you, Barvik. Would you want to tell us a little bit about Law Society and just how that's assisted, I suppose, you and others in making friendships at uni, social life?
Yeah, for sure. So I'd sort of want to start off by going off the back of what all of you guys have said in terms of just the career opportunities that are available. The career opportunities aren't just limited to what the faculty provides you. They're all around you, and that's including the student society that you will hopefully get to be a part of once you come to UNSW Law. The UNSW Law Society is the biggest law society in New South Wales. It has over 2,600 members or something crazy like that, which is just really incredible. And every single day we have events. So we have across over 200 events and initiatives across the entire year, which is just fantastic for all the students because there's essentially something for everyone. Whether that be initiatives that range from focusing on well-being, because student burnout is definitely a real thing and needs to be addressed, to careers opportunities. So we actually had our careers fair just yesterday where we had over 16 different law firms, but also other organizations such as legal super funds, as well as consulting firms, as well as societies and other policy makers who came through. So it gives you such a wide breadth of information as well as opportunities that you can just surround yourself with. And it's the thing that has helped me become the most holistic person studying this degree, because if it had not been for the career service, but at the same time, if it had not been for that student experience and that student interaction all coming together, I probably wouldn't be sitting in this chair today, just speaking to everyone in terms of how incredible my experience has been.
Yeah, that's
So,
fantastic.
yeah, it's truly what has allowed me to feel connected to everything around me. But that society culture is just a really strong thing at UNSW, which is probably a unique factor about this university in general, is how easy it is for people to just make friends. And that's friends from such a diverse background. That's friends from all diverse backgrounds. So whether that be people who, you know, may not have actually interacted with people perhaps in South Sydney, or sort of, there's people from all across the place. There's people from overseas, there's people from other states as well, and I'm really great friends with all of them. So
That's fantastic. I know there's a lot of students, you know, who might be a bit nervous coming to UNSW because, you know, their friends are either going to a different uni or not going to uni, whatever it might be. They might be coming and starting fresh.
Yeah.
So it's great to hear.
A personal experience I can share is the fact that I said at the start that UNSW wasn't my actually top pick just because of the fact of how far it was.
Yeah.
And I was the only person from my entire friend group who actually came to UNSW. So it was a really daunting experience for me stepping straight into university. But I think one of the key changes, or one of the key mindsets that I adopted when stepping into university was the fact that I knew that I couldn't just be that person who went to university, did my studies and came back home. I knew I wanted to be involved and want to be someone who had that university experience that so many others prior to me didn't. So stepped into university, and the first thing that I was greeted with was this incredibly welcoming and charming UNSW student who just said, "Hey, welcome to UNSW. There's a very high likelihood that, you know, you may not know many people, but we're here to change that."
Yeah.
And the active approach that students take, but also members of faculty take in just progressing and developing you is just so incredible to see every single day.
Yeah, that's awesome, because I think that, you know, those friendships and connections are not just important socially, but academically, because, yeah, from what you two have told me, it's really helpful in terms of study groups, having somebody to motivate you, you know, keeping each other on track. So I think that's really great to hear. In terms of the Law Society, I know you guys run a lot of events. And if any of you are actually coming to our Year 10 and 11 experience days, Barvik will be running some workshops. So be sure to check those out. Really interesting on-topic things about law and studying law. So that's great. How do you both fit it all in? With everything you're describing, it sounds a bit hectic, and I imagine law's not necessarily a walk in the park.
So, well, with law being a double degree and with us being law students, there's a tendency to put your hand up for every single thing. So I think what we have to learn is, I think this is a classic mistake you make in first year, where you want to do everything and make as many friends as possible and join as many societies, but eventually you find your footing and realize where you fit in and what to say yes to. And then just learning that the social aspects don't draw you away from your education, but actually supplement it and prevent you from facing that burnout, and also support you in wanting to do better and prioritize different aspects of your life. And I think what helps with that personally is compartmentalization and just setting time aside that, all right, today I'm going to get my hundreds of pages of readings done, but then we'll go to the roundhouse after for drinks, just to find that balance. It's a fine balancing act, but you find your footing eventually.
So be organized is what I'm saying.
Yes.
Get a notepad, get a diary.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Siobhan, what can you tell us about what supports are available to students?
Absolutely, and I'll just touch back to Bavik first, because the Law Student Society actually have a peer support program, and all students who are coming into UNSW Law and Justice, they're reached out to by the Law Student Society. They can be buddied up and given support. So alongside the Law Student Society, peer support for academic support as well, the faculty actually provide academic advisors. So for both domestic and international students, because sometimes it's not just about academic support, it's all of it. It's what's going on around in your life. So we have advisors on staff. Plus, we're very approachable. I mean, almost all teachers, I think, go by their first name. I know when I'm in the classroom, I'm telling them about practicing as a criminal lawyer. I'm telling them don't burn out. And also, I'm reminding them, look around, they will be your colleagues in the future. When you go out to practice law, it's actually quite small within your practice area. So don't compete against each other. Support each other. Have study groups. And that's the sort of culture that we try and encourage at UNSW, because when you go out to practice, they will be contacts, they will be friends, they will be supports. And I think that we've done that quite well.
Yeah.
And we're very focused on well-being. And I know that it has become an issue, but we actually do practice that. And there are a lot of well-being support programs and seminars and on counselling and all kinds of things at UNSW. So we do the academic support as well as the social and psychosocial support.
Yeah, fantastic. It sounds like there is a lot of support available, and it's such a social environment, which is just awesome to hear. I am getting a lot of questions in from you all, which I'd like to get through tonight if I can. A few questions about the LAT I'm getting. There does seem to be a little bit of fear about the LAT. So can I ask you two if that was your experience and how you felt, and after sitting the LAT, if that was warranted?
Well, with me personally, I sat the LAT both years because I originally always had UNSW Law as a goal in mind.
Yeah.
So I just knew it would be the right option for me to do that. And I personally, like someone who's been doing debating throughout high school, really leans towards those humanities subjects. I personally didn't find it that daunting. I found that within the booklet, we were given resources and sources to cite in what we were writing. So I felt like half the work was done for me already. So I personally found it quite approachable, I would say.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, I'd say I actually had a very different experience from Simon, because I only sat the LAT in my year 12. And I didn't actually do too well in it because, again, very similar sort of going into it. I thought, UNSW is one of the only universities which has an admissions test prior to entry. And I thought, okay, that sort of definitely makes it unique in some ways as well. But when I sat the exam, even though the exam itself is only 2 essay questions, at least it was back in 2020, it's definitely something which makes you think a lot more. It's not like your English Advanced or English Extension papers where it's just sort of a lot of theoretical analysis, essay writing. It's very much practical application of what the real world around you asks of you. And I think that was a really unique selling point, especially because of the fact that we're not necessarily used to it in high school, going into something like that. So I didn't really know how to prepare best for it. But I think I didn't do too well, and yet I'm here. So I think it's definitely, it's important that students know that it's only a supplementary tool for your ATAR or your IB score. It's not the be all or end all of things by any means. And I know I was very fearful when I got that mark because I was like, this is it, the dream's over. But it's definitely not the focal point. So definitely back yourself and just do it, because if you don't do it, even if you get an incredibly good ATAR score or IB score, whatever it is, you'll regret the opportunity that was there in front of you. So just go for it.
Definitely. I think from hearing, you both had two very different experiences with the LAT, but you're both here with us tonight. So I think that's the biggest takeaway. You know, don't be afraid. It's there to help you. As Barvik said, it's there as a supplement. So it's only something that can help you in the long run. It's not going to take away from your ATAR. It's just a great supplement to your ATAR. Which leads me to the next question that sort of answers that, which is how do we study the LAT for the LAT? So as you've both said, you can't study for the LAT. It is an aptitude test. You can go onto the ASAR website and do a practice paper just so you can more get an idea of what you're going into. So it's not necessarily studying per se, but it's more just, I guess, to alleviate any concerns you might have. You've seen basically what it's going to look like. So when you get in on the day, you've seen something similar before. But I would strongly advise not to do any other practice papers from any other websites or companies. That's the only one. And it's from actually from ASAR. So something to look out for there. Just seeing if we can get through any more questions before the end of the session. Oh, I can actually answer this one. So we've gotten a question through saying, what do you do if you're going to be away on the test date or you're sick on the test date for the LAT? So my advice to you would be to get in contact with ASAR as early as you can. You know, cases might be assessed on a case-by-case basis. So just being as prepared as you can and just get in contact with ASAR. Was there anything else that you wanted to add, Barvik?
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people do sort of think about, oh, how can I study for the LAT? Or I don't feel prepared because there's no practice papers or anything like that really available except for the ASAR one. But I'd say the best way to really prepare yourself for the LAT is to really be aware of exactly what's going on in the world. So make yourself aware, take that active approach to reading the news and thinking about, okay, here's exactly what's going on out in the world, whether that be from a social context, whether that be from a geopolitical context, because as a law student, those are actually things that you need to be thinking about all the time, because the law is something that's changing all the time, and that's something that the LAT actually does well at testing you at. So just really take the time to read the news, or just surround yourself with people who will give you information that you can take into the exam, but it's really practical and interesting information. So, yeah.
You know, I think that that's really great advice for the LAT and then all throughout your law degree and then all throughout your law career.
Sure.
Yeah, definitely surrounding yourself with people who are going to be having those same conversations with you, keeping yourself up to date with what's going on. That's great advice. So thank you. Mm-hmm. How about you, Sagun?
So with me, it's just more in general, but I really wanted to emphasize that for me, UNSW's greatest asset is its faculty. I remember even in IOJ, which is our law foundational course, my lecturer took me aside and he said, "You're better than you think you are. You need to believe in yourself." And I've always had that in the back of my mind, even 5 years later when approaching finals. Or when I expressed that I was interested in policy to Siobhan, actually, she put me in touch with the UNSW academic. And by having the seminar teaching style, you have such a close relationship with your teachers that you have that bond and asset of just academics and professionals available to you that you just wouldn't have otherwise.
Yeah, I think that's amazing. And I think that, well, I can speak for myself, but I think imposter syndrome is something a lot of us can relate to. And I mean, law is no small undertaking. You know, I myself get a lot of questions at careers fairs and things from high schoolers who will say to me, "Is studying law hard?" Well, yeah, look, it's not super easy, it's law, but the common thread that I keep getting back is if you're passionate, you will do so well at it, and you will have the support from people like Siobhan and, you know, your lecturer who really want to see you succeed. So that's really great to hear. So thank you for that. Is there anything else you would like to add to the panel this evening? Any final words for anyone watching?
I mean, I suppose I would just say that some students think I may not get the HR exactly as we mentioned, and we do always every year get a couple of students who say, I didn't sit the LAT because I wasn't sure I'd get the HR. Please sit it. If you are all interested in UNSW, sit it, because that is the regret that students have, that they didn't sit it.
Yeah. Good advice. I would like to thank you all so much for being on our panel this evening. It's been great, really insightful, so thank you for that. We have run out of time. I know that there are still a few other questions coming through. If you have any more questions or there's something that you are curious about, please reach out to our Future Students Inquiries team. They are available, Monday to Friday. You can even do a drop-in session, or call us up or pop them an email. They'll be able to assist you with any and every question that you have. And I would just like to thank you all for joining us tonight, and best of luck with your studies. Thank you.